Our boy Isagi is playing 4D chess when everybody else is playing checkers. My name is James, and welcome back to another Blue Lock Breakdown, where I share my thoughts on the episode as well as give a recap of really what happened. This episode especially was pretty sweet because you really didn't know how things were going to go. A lot of out of the blue things were happening left and right, and I think that makes it really exciting because you don't really know how a 10 on 11 phenoms versus these power three is gonna really develop. And I think it was really cool for that to be the theme of this episode, that it was just a roller coaster one after another, and we ended on a sick cliffhanger. So all in all, very great episode. That being said, though, I'm gonna get into the recap of what happened, and unfortunately it's gonna be a lot of ground because it was just play after play, flashbacks, everything. So I'm gonna get right into it. We begin with Kuon being his salty ass, chirping Rio, saying like, why aren't you guys beating a team with 10 players? And this is like sending Rio further and further into being tilted pretty much. Between Kuon and Raichi basically just down his throat, Rio's shaking. That being said, though, Nagi, his boy, who they have this incredible bond off the bat, realizes that Rio's kind of struggling, and then he's actually be able to try and facilitate a goal with himself and Zenitsu. The two succeed, and Team Z starts trying to reevaluate, rather, on how they're going to attack, how they're going to try and shake things up. Raichi being the... I don't know if he's humor. I don't know if he's trying to be motivation. But he's exactly what this team needs at this point. And he reminds them that, they're strikers. They're the ones, they're going to be aggressors. And that's how they're going to win the game. And he basically just drags Isagi and tells them that they're going to be the ones who effectively defend. Isagi at this point is entirely online. He's unlocked. He's awakened. And he's recognizing where he needs to be to really thwart Team V from making any effective play. Shirogiri and Zenitsu basically are in their foot race down the sideline, and Shigiri does the same thing where he tries to pass to himself and take off past Zenitsu. Nagi reads this, but Isagi's just a little better at it, and he's able to actually get himself into this place that really thwarts Team V's entire thing. We also get a flashback for Kuon basically describing his motivations, and really that nobody has as much passion as he does to want to win and get to nationals, and he was really traumatized by this from his teammates in high school. They didn't like how overbearing he was, and he only wants to win, and he wants to get there alone, and he doesn't feel like he needs it. That being said, though, with this deep pass and being intercepted, he's able to really thwart and cause this back and forth over and over of just attacks on the Team V net. We have Gagamaru, we have Kunigami, and Isagi really makes all this happen out of just being in this one place at the one time. Problem is, Isagi had to basically backpedal and be like, oh, this is how I got here. This is how I facilitated this. He's totally online, which is great. Then, though, what happens is they get the ball back. Zenitsu gets a deep pass down to Nagi, and Isagi, trying to do his best, is on top of Nagi, realizes that he's going to try and make a play, but Nagi, being the freak that he is able to actually secure ball control off of his back and then go to take a shot. This is when Kuon realizes the predicament, and this is going to take a little bit of explaining because of where the standings are between Team V and Team Z. If they only tie, they're all eliminated, and because of Kunigami's goal, Kuon's not doing any better. So instead, Kunigami takes a red card, absolutely tackles the shit out of Nagi, and basically thwarts their goal. So Kuon, I guess trying to be a teammate, basically tries to tell them hey, you guys need to win. With the penalty shot, though, Rio goes for it, and this is where we actually see Iemon shine, which I feel so bad because he's absolutely gotten land-basted every episode. He's he's a striker trying to be a goalie, but he realizes that they're in blue lock and strikers are going to try and be egotistical. So he realizes that Rio goes for the goal himself, and then it's just a wave after wave again from Team V. This time they're able actually to get it out in midfield. Cliffhanger ends with Isagi having possession, and his eyes aren't just this circling. I don't know, I feel like we're almost getting to DBZ power levels of the hair going at a certain the eyes are now intensifying. We have Isagi with these very blue electric eyes. Just chills. Can't wait for next episode. The two big things that I want to talk about is that we are starting to move out of the realm of believable, which is, I think it's fine. I think that a lot of the blue lock principles and really ideas that they're kind of using their players and how to build them out, they're all grounded ideas. They're all things that, yes, they all happen in soccer and stuff but they're just turning them up to 11, which is this is anime. That's totally chill. I'm happy they're starting to do it. I think it really adds for a bit more depth, a bit more excitement, stuff like that. I mean, we already have a schizophrenic excellent dribbler. We have a guy who wants to be a superhero, another guy who's taking dive tackles left and right. So I think that's fine. I think this point was going to start happening. And plus in a realm of very skilled players, a 10 on 11 should be a no-brainer, right? So of course we need to have a little anime magic, and once again, I think that's totally okay. That being the next thing I want to move into, and it kind of like plays off the first part, is that Asagi's turning into a fucking prophet. He doesn't really know how he's doing it, as we clearly see that he's really needs to like kind of reel back, really reassess how he made these movements happen. But the fact is, it's happening. And spatial awareness is one thing. Predicting where somebody's going to be every time and then realizing the chain effect that happens, I think that's where we're starting to get a little ridiculous, but that's totally okay. That's fine. We are watching an anime where 100 players were thrown into a locked coliseum, and they have to like try and fight to have their phone access. So Isagi is going to be our prophetic main character, and I think that's really cool. The big thing is that we know that Isagi, he's not physically up to the same level of Raichi, of Kunigami, of Chigiri. Like, he is a very, maybe mediocre is probably the best word as far as his physical attributes. So, and you really see this exemplified with him against Nagi. He's not able to really read and predict every little movement somebody can make, and he doesn't have the physical capacity to intercept that when something does throw him for a loop. So it'll be very interesting to see how a character who is very physically mediocre with incredible gift chalks up against people who just have both raw talent and they're physically bigger and better than him. It's gonna be interesting to see really how much they turn that spatial awareness up to 11 and try and really make that work against these attributes. I'm sure at some point we're going to have a Isagi training arc where he's working on the treadmill with Kunigami, he's having another square off with Barrow, stuff like that. I'm sure that's down the road, but I mean, you can only gain so much muscle and so many of these skills in such a short period of time where they're really doing with Blue Lock, and they're just speeding things along. So I'm excited to see how crazy this spatial awareness power gets. And then you can't just have one player really just have like these crazy amounts of level ups. You're gonna have everybody else developing too. So I think things are gonna get wacky really fucking quick, and I'm pumped for it. As always though, we do like to talk about whose rank goes up, whose rank goes down in each episode. I think we are starting to see a bit of a crack in the armor of Rio, which I think it makes him a little more humanized. It makes him a little more, well, not humanized, it makes him a bit more of a realistic person, other than he's just this person who doesn't want anything gifted to him, and it just adds a little bit of depth. And Raichi's the one who's shaking it out of him all people, which I think is great. I fucking love Raichi. So I think I'm going to put his stock down because he is shaken, not fairly easily, but easily enough that I don't think it adds stock to him. And I think the bonus, it's a toss-up, right? It's a toss-up between Kuon, who has motivations but is still benefiting the team. So it's like, I don't know if that's a mute point, I don't know if that's like an lateral movement, or Isagi, who is really just turned up to 11, which I think is great. So I'm going to toss it up between those two there. It's going to be interesting to see what next episode is, because it's going to be a banger. As always though, I'm James, and this is the Blue Lock Recap, and we will see you all next week for the next episode of Blue Lock. Thanks.